Microphone's on. There we go. Every time this thing updates, it turns off my microphone. I need to learn to check that. Streamlabs, quit turning off my microphone when you update your stupid program. Jeez, my knees. Anyway, we are we're livecast 155. Post-COVID show. Everything's going to shit already right off the bat. So thank you. And I'm seeing a whole bunch of super chats saying my mic isn't working. Mic isn't working. No sound. Well, oh, maybe I should turn off the intro before. There we go. Intro is off. Intro is off. Sound is on. Whew. Okay. Thank you, Drew Soul. Thank you, Sad Boy. Thank you, G Font. And Chakuseki. Hey, hope you're feeling better. Remedy for bad breath. Place Mentos in your mouth and gargle with Coca-Cola. Definitely help. Yeah. If you guys get COVID, if you test positive, call your doctor. Get a telemedicine appointment as fast as you can. And have them prescribe you Paxlovid if that's what, if you don't have any other weird ailments such as a organ transplant or whatever. Two doses of Paxlovid and my symptoms were gone. The only drawback was my mouth literally tasted like I was slurping on the cat box. I had turd mouth for quite a while. It was pretty gross. But 5 days of treatments and I don't really have any symptoms. I cough every once in a while, clearing some stuff out. I got on it pretty early, so I never had fever or anything like that. Which I think if you wait too long, the Paxlovid won't do what it's supposed to do. But if you get tested early and you know early, get that. It's going around like crazy. My friend's restaurant that I help out in is closed today because like everyone has COVID. So we're in a big wave at the moment, and a lot of it's not getting reported because it's all at home tests like what I did. So get out there. Get your treatments if you can, and don't let it get worse. Guitar Stuff, happy birthday, welcome back. Why not dividend? My fish has its mattress already. So, yeah, I totally missed the shareholders meeting. I was sleeping. That was like day 2 of COVID. I slept right through it. But from the gist of it is, the vote got passed, and then the board now being cheeky and saying that they're discussing the possibility of a share dividend. That tells me that they're not in a hurry like we were hoping for, but they did file the paperwork with the SEC for expanding authorized shares to 1 billion. So that tells me that they're on board to, do it eventually. I don't know when. I'm hoping sooner rather than later. It'd be really nice. There's been a lot of talk recently about there's too many naked shorts, too many synthetic shares out there, and that the price as a result can't go super high because there's just not enough money in the world. That is bupkis. We own the printers. We can print as much money as we want, and we'll deal with the consequences later. If, there is the outside chance that the government can step in and say, all right, we're going to do a settlement agreement. We're going to make it for this much money. And if you've got those shares in your account, your shares disappear and we replace this money. That amount of money is going to be in the thousands per share. They're not going to do a settlement for chump change because that would result in basically people burning the entire government down. Which is why my goal post-dividend split is to have at least 1,000 shares. Because if for some reason the government does step in and make it a worst case scenario, 1,000 shares, the settlements for X thousands of dollars, then you've got millions. Cool. That is sort of the covering your bases method that I'm looking for. And 7-for-1 split would mean 125 shares now would result in 1,000 shares at the end of the split, which seems pretty reasonable to me. So I'm going to shoot for that. And if the fallback is a government bailout or a government a settlement, which the U.S. government has to realize that they're going to piss off so many foreign investors that foreigners aren't going to invest in our markets anymore. They're going to keep their money at home. So there's a huge drawback to that. So I don't think it's as likely as a lot of people will make it out to be, but you might as well cover your bases, and that's what I'm shooting for. Okay. Do I have anything else to talk about in the... Evergrande is officially defaulted. The executive order went through on Friday, so a whole bunch of Chinese companies, their bonds and stock can no longer count towards assets under management. The Fed has announced that they will be doing tightening, and that they're going to be selling off huge amounts of their assets that they have, their securities they have, which is over the next year and a half is going to be $7 trillion worth of assets they're selling off. So we're going to have a whole bunch of Chinese securities being sold. We're going to have a whole bunch of U.S. securities being sold. We're going to be having margin calls like crazy, which can result in massive selling of all sorts of stuff, especially since that haircut, a lot of OTC stocks. So I think prices and everything is going to keep dropping. The market is definitely entering a big bear, and that's going to drop a lot more. Each day we see more news about mortgage-backed securities are crashing. Home sales are way down. People can't qualify for loans. There was that weird day last week where all of a sudden mortgages went from like 6% down to 3.5% for no reason, and as far as I've seen, no one's been able to explain why. But my guess is those mortgage rates for homes will start climbing right back up again. So okay, I guess we'll hit the questions now that I've got the mic working and actually chit chat with everyone. All right, people wishing me well. Thank you, Casey. Sad Boy Incorporated. Could we make the Earth have rings like Saturn from the asteroid belt? It would be cool if the Earth's atmosphere shading the equator. Thoughts? Someone was asking about this the other day. Naturally, I don't think an asteroid belt could form because we don't have a strong enough Roche limit where, across a massive body, the tidal forces, the gravitational forces on one side are not super different from the other side. Whereas if you get to like Saturn or Jupiter, you get to a certain point, your body can rip apart because those tidal forces. We could create an artificial ring. We're sort of slowly doing it with geosynchronous satellites around the equator. But they're 30,000 miles away, so you have to put a whole bunch of them in there to be able to make some sort of shadiness. Theoretically, it could. We probably will start capturing near Earth asteroids at some point and putting them into our orbit specifically to mine them. It's going to be a very, very dangerous job because one small move, one rocket doesn't fire correctly, then you crash that sucker into Earth and you end life as you know it, which would be pretty bad. But I have a feeling that in the future we will be sort of nudging big objects like that into orbit so we can mine them. Meow meow. Go on Joe Rogan, talk about how you beat COVID using a hairball remedy you bought off Amazon. I did it. All I did was I ate a bunch of Ajax under the sink in the bathroom, and it worked perfectly. I've never felt better. Anything that has a Mr. Yuck sticker on it cures COVID. Do they still have Mr. Yuck stickers? Do they still do this for kids in school? They used to give them to us all the time as kids in elementary school. We put Mr. Yuck on things. I don't know. I don't have kids. All these kids that I know. Rocket Ming, what strikes your GME calls and what are they sitting at profit-wise so far? I sold them all on Friday. So I had a 115 for the 17th and a 130 for this that expired on Friday. So I sold them all on Friday. I should have sold them the week before. I was up like 6K. I'm making 3, so it's okay. I was hoping for the dividend announcement to be official, and it didn't happen. So I just like, bing, they're gonna short it on Monday, and they did. So lucked out on that. That's good because gas is really expensive right now, and I have to drive to Canada on Saturday. Excuse me. I can feel the scratchiness in the throat is still coming on. Give me the scratchy velvet voice. Okay. Mrs. Kravitz, hi Houston. Glad you're feeling better. Has anyone done dishes yet? Yes. 1 load has been done, but it looks like there's about 3 loads that need to get done. So it's happening. Okay. Sad Boy Incorporated. Thoughts on Ryan Cohen buying 5,000 Bed Bath & Beyond January 23 $8 strike calls? Should we copy his strategy? Is it worth the risk? Also, when do you think MOAS will occur? If you had to guess, guessing is free. Man, it's so hard because any like educated guess gets absolutely just wrung out and like deposited into a dumpster. So we're like, hey, they announced that they're going to do this dividend. We got the shareholder meeting come up. We're going to vote on this sucker, authorize those shares in Dividend City. And then they don't talk about the dividend at all and leave us in the dark. And what? So whenever the dividend, either dividend happens or the market crashes so hard that so many hedge funds just get vaporized. And that date is somewhere off in the hazy future that's hard to predict. And that's where we are, man. It's where we are. But Bed Bath & Beyond calls, how much are $80 strike calls for January? Let's look at those suckers. Okay, so we scroll down. Go to, where are you, BBBY? There you are. So Bed Bath & Beyond's at $8 right now, which is really low. Remember the sucker hit like 25 in the winter. Trade options. We're going to go for January 2023. And right now, 44 cents share. So $44 gets you a call at $80. That still seems a little pricey. What's the implied volatility is still 163%. If this price if they keep that price down for a little while and it stays below $10 for a while, that implied volatility will drop quite a bit, and those things you might be able to get for single digits for $9. That might be a good deal then. But I don't think I can afford 5,000 of them. That's a lot of money. But Cohen's rich, so there you go. He obviously has a plan for that, so he knows what he's doing. Something like that doesn't throw a bunch of money at it, thinking, "Oh, this isn't going to work." He knows he's got some sort of plan going. Richard White, I had your stalker on Reddit today try to tell me what a horrible person you are. I quoted you from last week. Wayne Rhino said he was one cell short of being amoeba. Rick. I just wish that guy had a hobby. I mean, it's weird being somebody's hobby, but just sad. Just sad that somebody is so lonely that their only friend in the entire world is the person they stalk who hates their guts. Such a weird existence that you could be doing so much more with your life, but instead, just gonna stalk somebody. It's been all day. Meow meow. Biden croaks. How do you see Kamala panning out as president? Should we buy generators, replace meal replacement packs, and flashlights? I mean, she's not going to be an exciting president. She's just going to, do what's happening now, which is not much in the way of anything. I don't see anybody in that administration being a big game changer as to disrupting the status quo in any way. That's the reality of it. I really wish that we had somebody who was a type A fixer in there to just be like, okay, this needs to get fixed, this needs to get fixed, this needs to get fixed, and they just did it. Because there's so many issues, so many problems to get fixed, and the biggest problem with Democrats is they know what they need to do, but I think if they're scared that if they do it, they won't be able to campaign on getting it done anymore. So they can talk about, oh, we need to make sure everyone's covered with health care. But if they actually covered everyone with health care, then they can't campaign on, hey, everyone, we need to get you covered with health care. Which I think is going to be a big problem for Republicans, is that for 40 years, Republicans have run on, we're going to overturn Roe. And they get all this money, and they get all these people, and they vote for them, or overturn Roe. And now that they're about to overturn Roe, they're not going to be able to campaign and raise money on it anymore. And a whole bunch of Catholics are Republicans specifically on the abortion issue. And that they are one-issue voters, single-issue voters. And now that they don't have to vote for Republicans anymore because of that single issue, they may actually lose some. Because they're so awful when it comes to like charity and helping people and stuff like that. So it may backfire in the end. There's a weird thing about this two-party system we have is that you get political success by not doing anything, but promising you will. So, these European governments that have like coalitions, where you might have one major party wins 30% of the vote, but then they got to take a bunch of other people in from other parties. And to form that coalition, if you are, I don't know, a Labor Party, and you have to bring in the Greens and communists and socialists or whatever, that they're all going to have demands. They're going to say, okay, we will join your coalition and we will support you as prime minister if you fund schools this much, or if you get everybody this health care, or if you do this green initiative. And so the major party has to give a concession and go, all right, we'll pass that. And boom, something gets done. Because we don't have coalitions like that in our government. Instead, we have, two major parties. Inside those parties is a vast array of political ideals and competency and drive to get something done. That if even a slight minority in the major party is a capitulator and just as final status quo, then nothing gets done. And it's pretty remarkable how useless the U.S. government is when it comes to that stuff. Anyway, scratchy throat, man. Scratchy throat and scratching his throat. Like it's in Productions, Houston, have you considered testing your sense of taste by eating a Hot Pocket again? I would totally watch that science experiment. I am never going to eat a Hot Pocket, if I can avoid it, for the rest of my life. That was not worth any of the experience. It tasted bad. It made my stomach do flips. And I did not enjoy what came out afterwards. So no. My sense of taste is fantastic. I know because I tasted cat shit for 5 days because of that Paxlovid. So my sense of taste is still there, so that's good. Case Chapman, do you think the SEC is baiting us? Could a class action suit against them deem us an organized group and market manipulators? No. A class action against them would just basically be like, hey, I'm a retail investor and these guys screwed me over. And you just have a bunch of other retail investors all saying, hey, yeah, they screwed me over. But no, I don't think we qualify as an organized group. Although there were people kept trying to bait us into doing organized things such as everyone at noon is going to buy a share, stuff like that. Don't follow those things. Those are hedge fund guys trying to get you guys busted for manipulating stocks. Don't do that. Buy in your own time and when the price is low. Colleen Davis, Houston, just love you. Oh, thank you. What's the best guess of average price per share of GME and AMC that they could squeeze to that would break the market? Is there enough money to cover at $10,000 a share? there's always enough money to cover because the government owns the printer. Remember, if these banks go under because of these liabilities, the government has to print money to save the banks. They cannot let these banks go under, because if the banks go under, the entire economy collapses, and that's it. There is no more United States of America. So the only option is for the government to print a just boatload of money. Now, if inflation gets to the point where people are worried about it, I wouldn't doubt if we recalibrate our currency and we do a reverse split of the dollar, something like that, and just start over again. Mexico did it with the peso years ago. Turkey's done it before. Zimbabwe's done it. Other nations have done it. There's precedent for it. It may hurt our ability as a global currency, as a reserve currency, but there is no option. They have to print bills to pay us. Now, if the price gets $10,000 a share, that's going to be. Let's go calculator. Go open up the calculator. Sorry, my computer rebooted and because of power outage last night. Calculator. Bing. There we go. Go there. Go calculator. Okay, so right now we've got 76 million shares. We do a 7-for-1 split. It's like, what, 530 million or something like that would be the total amount of issued shares. So at $10,000 a share, whoops, back one. That takes us to $5 trillion at $10,000 a share. That is a ridiculous amount of money. That is more money than is reasonable, and that's a lot. Here's the thing, is that not everyone is going to sell for $10,000 a share. There's a lot of people who will say things like, I'm going to hold to the moon, I'm doing all this stuff, and they're going to get to $1,000 a share. They're going to see $3 million in their bank account, and they're just going to sell. Or sell a lot of them. Not everyone is going to sell for that much. Not everyone's going to sell for $1 million. Not everyone's going to sell for $100,000. There's going to be just a few people in that peak who sell for those ridiculous amounts of money. And yes, it will show that the market cap of the company is something ridiculous, like the entire size of the global economy for a brief moment, and then it will fall back down again when all the buying is done. But $5 trillion is reasonable. That's just at the number of shares that are in that float. Now, this is the stuff that Lou and Trey have been talking about how the price can't go super high because there's just too many shares. At $10,000 a share, and let's say if there's 8 billion shares out there for synthetics, and now we're at $80 trillion. That's the entire global economy is $80 trillion. Right? But think about all the derivatives market. There's like $600 trillion in unpaid derivatives that are liabilities for all these banks. $600 trillion. So who gives a crap about our $80 trillion when there's $600 trillion in Lehman Brothers crud and Washington Mutual crud and, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and everything else that still has not been taken care of. This has been sort of like brushed under a rug. 80 trillion is nothing compared to the 600 trillion that are liabilities out there all the time. So, yeah, they're going to have to come up with it somewhere, and they're just going to print it. They printed $16 trillion in 2020. Why can't they print $16 trillion now? Why can't they print $30 trillion? Why can't they print $100 trillion? Yeah, well, there may be inflation as a result, but at the same time, the entire market's going to collapse. The economy is going to collapse. People are going to get laid off. They're going to be buying homes. They're not going to be taking vacations. They're not going to be buying cars. So the prices of things are going to drop because consumer demand will be gone. So there's going to be some mitigation there, and I'd rather have millions of dollars in my pocket when inflation goes crazy than not have millions of dollars in my pocket when inflation goes crazy. Regardless, we'll be in a better spot than where we are now. No matter what, you're going to sell your shares for more than you paid for them. That's just what's going to be. So, yeah, we might have pie in the sky and all this stuff, but in the end, you're going to make more money than what you started with. And that, I think, is an important fact. Okay. William Morgan has changed his name to Whisper. The Whisperer. Okay. Jonathan says we missed a few shows when we have some intros to make up for it. The ones we didn't get. Also, everyone's talking about Trey's $2,000 price target. Thoughts? Fishware's mattress. Thanks. Yeah, I kind of just covered that part. Thousands of dollars a share is still a win, but I think this can go much, much higher than that. Remember now, we have a gigantic infinity pool. If there's a dividend split and we get issued a whole bunch more shares, that infinity pool gets gigantic. 1 billion shares in the infinity pool, which would be twice the float, right? If that's the case, that is definitely in name your price territory. Yeah, people may go, all right, is that $100,000 share? I'll sell them all, I don't care. Good for them. But that price is absolutely going to be bonkers. And they're going to have to buy them. They're going to have to pay for them. There's no other way to close the books unless you pay for them. So having them set the price limit is not how it works. The buyer doesn't get to set the limit if they have to purchase it. They have to purchase it from us. We're the seller. We get to name our price. Right? We are essentially in competition with each other at that point. And if, not enough people say, yeah, I'll sell for $2,000, then it's not going to sell for $2,000. It's going to sell for a lot more than that. So just sit back, relax, drink a cool beverage, put your limit order in there for a ridiculous amount of money, and there you go. So we got the easy part. Sell one at a time for a stupid amount of money. I think we can do it. Natsuka Hirabayashi. Now the Gherkin said MOAS very, very, or most probably unlikely, and Trey says AMC won't reach 100,000 and probably won't even be 1,000. I wonder if Houston will start talking more realistic. How many MM bag hold? Again, we hold all the shares. They have to buy them. We can name whatever price we want if that infinity pool exists. So, saying that it's not going to happen, saying that the price is going to be really low or, not max out at what it should, that literally plays into the hands of the hedge funds. They're like, yes, tell them it's only going to go for $2,000. Because there's a bunch of hedge funds who may survive that. Citadel might be able to survive that. But no, prices are going to be ridiculous still. Nothing's changed between now and last spring when we're like, oh yeah, $1 million a share. Except the fact that they've piled on more liability since then. And yeah, there's an argument to be made that they've created so much liability that's going to crash the entire economy in ways that we never thought possible. And that may force the government to come in and do a settlement. And that's, again, as long as you hedge for that settlement and you get to a point where you could possibly have lots of shares, you may come out on top anyway. So, come out on top anyway. Play all the sides you can. Bill Coyne. We talked about this before. All shorts will squeeze together. It will cost hundreds and hundreds of trillions to pay everyone. That's impossible. It's not impossible because we own the printer. They have to close everything. And this is where the Great Reset, conspiracy theories come in, because people are just gonna wipe the slate clean. We'll start all over again. Which, I can't ever say these things are not outright possibilities, but if you don't clear the books somehow, then that stuff remains on there, remains a liability for everyone, and everything becomes like suspect. Everyone starts looking at everything sideways, and you can't trust the value of anything at that point because you know that there is so much liability everywhere that until the SEC and the DOJ and the FTC and Congress and all these groups, until they actually step in and change the rules so that this manipulation and these loopholes vanish, then there's going to be no reason to invest in our markets at all. So I think the hedge funds. You guys saw price action on Sears again today on no news. Let's see here. Let me bring it up. Get big. Go there. $SHLDQ. Oops. Not Schlack. D. Yeah. It shot up to 19 cents today. Ended up closing back at 17 cents again. And that's on no news whatsoever. So it's my guess that these guys, they're doing their best to close out every small position they have. All these OTC stocks, they want to close all these little guys. While they're still pennies and while they're still under $1, close as many of them as they can. When they get them all closed, then they can start focusing on some of the big boys. They'll probably focus on, your Blackberries and your Bed Bath and Beyond and these also rans that are along with GameStop. And then once they get most of those out of the way, maybe they can do some lucky stuff, do some swaps, get rid of their GameStop things, and a few of these guys will survive. And they may dump it all on some Brazilian hedge fund to take the fall for everybody. But they're going to try and, I think, close all these small little dudes first. And because they don't want them to all explode at the same time. They're not. No one can survive that. So that's probably what they're working on. Be my guess. Okay. Whew, it's gonna be a long show today. My voice is so scratchy. I haven't gotten out of the an hour in, or half an hour in. I have not gotten out of the pre-show questions here. Jonathan, so then instead of money, we ask for real change. No more dark pools, no more paying for order flow, no more synthetics, and jail time for those who cheat the system. That might be part of a compromise. The SEC needs to be given law enforcement powers. They can't just be like, okay, we're going to give you another $10 fine for the $10 billion you made. They need to be able to put handcuffs on people and haul their asses out of their Wall Street buildings. And not just be like, hey, Department of Justice, can you please come investigate this? They need to have their own investigation powers. And they need to get a bunch of pit bull sickos in there to sink their teeth in and not let go. So the SEC needs that financial crimes power to investigate and prosecute that the FBI has, because they're the ones doing the investigations anyway. So they do this investigation, they find that these dudes broke the law a bunch of times, and they go, okay, pay this meager fine, which is not enough. Fines need to be, every SEC fine needs to be for greater than the money they made committing the crime. So if you made $1 billion committing a crime, the fine should be at least $1 billion plus one, if not more than that, to make it punitive to commit that crime. Otherwise, it's just the cost of doing business. It's just an overhead charge. You can break the law all day long. Who gives a crap? Because you're gonna, all right, check for $600,000 because I just made $40 billion off that deal. I don't care. That's what we made in interest in 4 hours off of that deal. So there needs to be SEC needs more power. The 1934 Act that formed the SEC must have more teeth to it to give these guys, give them freaking 9mm and badges and have them go in there and haul people out in handcuffs. Okay. Drew Soul, thoughts on Twitter potentially misinforming stock investors, advertisers with their fudged bot numbers. Doubt this goes to court. Avoid discovery and Elon gets cheaper purchase price. Happy birthday. Elon's not going to buy Twitter. The AG of Texas is the one that's doing this investigation, and the AG of Texas is about to lose his law license and possibly go to jail for his own crimes. The only reason the AG of Texas is doing this investigation is because there's a clause in Elon's contract that says he can't do due diligence, which is why the deal is not going to happen. He can't complain about due diligence when he's signed away his right to do due diligence. He's going to owe a pile of money to Twitter. Twitter's profit this year is going to be entirely from Elon Musk, I think. Him giving them piles of cash of having to sell his stock to make that happen. But he's not going to buy Twitter. Twitter does have a bot problem. They've got a major bot problem. The thing is that people like Elon contribute to that bot problem by paying money to troll farms to do bot attacks. Trust me. Use botsentinel.com. If you go to Elon Musk's Twitter account, when he tweets something, talk shit about him. Go, Elon sucks. He's stupid. This is a bad idea. Ping, ping. And 90% of the responses you get will have a 55% or greater problematic rating on Bot Sentinel, because they're all either bots or troll farm accounts that Elon specifically paid to defend him. It's no different than if you talk shit about Putin and you get a bunch of weird Russian bots in there. They're the same groups. A lot of them are out of Eastern Bloc countries, Russia, the Philippines. Tons are hired out of the Philippines. And these bot accounts, they do create a lot of animosity across the platform. But all I do is I go, hey, you're a bot, post their bot score, and then block them. And then that's one less bot to think about. Elon can complain about bots all day long, but he literally pays for them. 90% of the replies I get under an Elon tweet is bots and troll farms. There's just so many of them. Brett Weinstein the other day made a really terrible tweet about basically how he wants the ability to say the N-word. He's like, it's unfair, it's oppressive that white people can't say epithets whenever they want. And I was like, fuck you, dude. And then 24 hours later, all of a sudden that comment started getting just tons of replies under it. Every single one of them was a bot account. So after Brett Weinstein got dragged for 24 hours on Twitter, he went out, he paid someone, cut a check. He's like, hey, send a bunch of bots my way to defend me. Boink. And then all of a sudden, 100 replies come in from bot after bot after bot after bot. So, yeah, there's a problem with bots. But the problem is that Elon, A, contributes to it, and B, signed away his due diligence. So he can't complain about that and make that a reason for him not to purchase, because he wasn't allowed to do any due diligence. Okay, where are we going? Wally B, 32, Houston flees Cumpleaños. Cumpleaños, I guess really right. Concerned at the number of GME votes as revealed during the shareholder meeting seems low. Is it possible we don't really own the flow as many times as we think? No, because there's tons of people that have been in this chat that said they never got their proxies. Or when they they own 100 shares, but they only got to vote on 5 of them. So there's shenanigans going on, and that's probably the biggest reason why. Storebank 001. What's up with Charlie now? He is a China bull. Is he right? No. Charlie is not right. Chinese economy may officially shrink for the first time ever. And if China is dumb enough to invade Taiwan this fall, as what the rumor mill keeps saying, then they will have no economy, because their entire economy is built upon importing hard currency from Europe and America, putting together plastic crap and shipping that out. Now, if they invade, then trade will halt with China. Only black market stuff will go through. And you only have, a few countries that may through the Silk Road, Belt and Road Initiative, be beholden to China, but they don't have large enough economies to keep them afloat. They need hard currency dollars. They need U.S. dollars. And they need euros. And if they don't have those, then they got nothing. And their real estate market is collapsed by 50%, which is 1/3 of their economy. And they are in some serious deep doo-doo right now. So no, Chinese companies are defaulting on bonds like crazy. Their stocks are trading in the dumpsters. Charlie's wrong. He's just wrong. Also, he's a weirdo conspiracy theorist who also thinks that short liabilities don't matter to hedge funds, which doesn't make any sense. Okay. 40-ounce Oracle. Houston, happy birthday. America has a gun violence problem, and I feel like it's never going to change. I work at a bus station and saw someone get shot at 9:30 a.m. today, turning my 2 weeks into tomorrow. Oh, shit. Yeah, that's no me gusta. Every American I know has some sort of story like that. And you go to some place like Europe, and you go to Europe and they'll ask you about red Solo cups at parties and guns. They're like, is it really like that? And you go, yeah, red Solo cups and guns. That's sort of how it rolls in America. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. That's a brutal thing to see. Talk to someone about it. Like, that stuff's going to haunt your dreams. So make sure you at least have somebody you can talk to. Because you shouldn't have to go through that. Yogi 2012, what's the greatest Western movie ever? Why is Three Amigos? Three Amigos is fantastic. I saw a thing the other day that was like, the Three Amigos was a giant bomb and critics hated it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Three Amigos is brilliant. And I remember it being a gigantic hit movie when I was a kid. But no, it's a good movie. Desperado is a really good Western. It's a modern Western, but man, that movie's good. What else is really good? Well, you might be right. It might be Three Amigos. Meow meow. McDonald's needs to go back to their old ways of service. The doors are locked, and I gotta wait 30 minutes in the drive-thru for my Diet Coke. None of people. They aren't willing to pay enough for people to work, and yeah, that's how it is. But the McDonald's here closes at like 7 o'clock now. It used to be open until midnight or something, just because there's no one to work. That's everyone's got COVID, or they aren't willing to work for $10 an hour, so they have to up that money. I keep seeing advertisements come across my social media for like robots that fry fries or whatever, and as if that's the future. It may be part of the future, but the thing is that the service contracts for those things, the purchase price, the maintenance, all that stuff is going to be so much more expensive than a human being who can just do it and get it done with and smile and wave at people and create an atmosphere of, a job. You just got to pay for it. And they can. You go to Denmark where they're making $23, $26 an hour with 5 weeks paid vacation, full medical, and a pension. And the hamburger costs the same as it does here. It can be done. We just have to change how we remunerate the owners of such establishments. They need to take their expectations down quite a bit. As the owner, you shouldn't be collecting 90% of everything. It's great if you can. Good job. But you have to expect to, your employees be able to live and feed and clothe themselves and house themselves. Daniel Motes, Houston, question. Thoughts on how quickly upwards price action for GME will start now that the issuance of new shares is ready for a dividend? If there's any upwards, it's not going to happen until they actually announce that dividend. And they didn't do it, so we're waiting. We're waiting for them to say, okay, we're gonna issue the dividend on this date, and the date of record is this date, and then we should start seeing. Hope it will rocket the minute they do that, but if they don't ever do that, then we're sitting and waiting. Excuse me. Okay. Oh, and of course the chat finally reset. And where am I stuck back? I am... Hey, look at that. So now I'm only 45 minutes behind. Okay. Oh, now it's just people telling me that my sound isn't on. So, okay, I can scroll right past that. Okay. William Morgan has Credit Suisse Group, got 23,000 more shares of AMC, SPP Fonder, 39,000, Lixor International Assets Management, 104,000, according to Bloomberg terminals of Friday. Yeah, they seem to be picking up more of the meme stocks. And CAT was delayed. Yes, delayed until possibly this winter, which... yeah. We'll see if the CAT system ever gets actually implemented, or if they just kick that can forever. It was supposed to be implemented this fall, and they kicked the can again to this summer, and then they're kicking it to next winter. So, I don't know. Maybe seeing headlines 2 years from now. Not until Q4 2025. Okay. Ideas Matter 7707 Houston. MMTLP has been very quiet. Any news? No news. And I also promised that I was not going to talk about metamaterials or MMTLP. My brother asked me not to, so I am not going to talk about it. I have all the shares I'm going to have, and I'm just going to wait on news like everybody else. So, no more metamaterial talk from me. Sorry. Natsuka Hirabayashi, I had a conversation with Gherkin Stream today. He said MOAS is highly, highly unlikely. Hedge funds had a year and a half to work the system to their advantage. I mean, I think the hedge funds for the last year and a half, all they've been doing is surviving. I don't think they've been thriving. They are still way down, like way down. Most of these hedge funds are down like 40% on the year. Every action they take is a survive another day action. And each move that's a survive another day action increases their liability in the end, because they're doing it through debt swaps, they're doing it through naked short selling, and those two big things are the huge drivers in what's caused them troubles in the first place. So it's basically they're taking out a credit card to pay off another credit card. That's just what they're doing. So I don't think that they have steeled themselves against a MOAS. I think they've just made it worse. And, you know, the argument coming out of Trey and Lou are that they've made it so bad now that there's no way anyone's going to have any money to pay for anything. And that is the new FUD that's coming out. And I don't buy it. They still need our shares. They still have to buy our shares because they have to close those books. And the minute they lose control of their systems, the minute they no longer can make their trades because their assets get seized and sold and liquidated, that's when we're going to see exactly how bad it is. But with the way the debt swaps are and these FTDs can get reset, it may be a while until they finally... until the government finally has the stones to be like, okay, this is enough. You can't swap this stuff anymore. You can't trade in dark pools. You can't sell naked. Because every single day they let this happen is just making it that much worse. And that's where we are. So, no, I don't buy into it. They need our shares. They need them. They got to balance the books eventually. And they can't do it without buying them, and we're not going to sell them for anything less than an absolute fortune. So there we go. Learner, aren't you triple vaxxed? Yes, I am triple vaxxed, but my last vaccine was November 4th. So I'm 7-8 months into that particular vaccine, and the virus has mutated 5 times since then. So efficacy for the vaccines are way down because people who are unvaccinated got really sick, changed the composition of the genomes, which now are escaping our immune systems. And that's the story of our life because not enough people got vaccinated back in the day. So yeah, everyone's gonna get BA4 and BA5. It's just running roughshod through everybody. They need to probably come out with a tweaked vaccine for these latest strains, and we'll probably start all over again. That's life, man. That's the nature of a pandemic when not enough people get vaccinated when they have the chance. So here we are, going through a giant wave, an absolute giant wave of infection right now. All the people that avoided it the last 2.5 years are getting hit hard right now. So, c'est la vie. Coffee, Donuts, and Homer, can you talk about the GameStop share breakdown pic that was posted on Twitter? Yeah. Wait. No. I'm going to close you. I'm going to go to Twitter. Got to go to me. Because it was posted on Reddit. And I reposted it to Twitter. And... was that Friday? Sorry, I'm scrolling to find it. Or was it Thursday? Somewhere in there. There it is. Okay. Okay, so this is the breakdown. You guys cannot read that, can you? So basically, this shows the total number of shares outstanding, is that blue line. And then there's floating stock and full float. So there's what is not owned by insiders and then what is owned by insiders. And you break the float down. There's what exists and what's been DRS'd. You break that down and it'll show you what's owned by institutions and what's owned by people. And you break that down further. You get the possible like actual float and the I forgot what they call the insiders, the institutional ownership of float, but it's like the secured float or something like that. And you break down that possible float, and you got the shares people have that are probably on loan through their broker. And then you have the number of naked shares that are likely to have been sold based upon volume. And this is, where are we at? Like 20 times the size of the float? 24 times the size of the float? So that's a lot of shares. This is basically the estimation of how many naked shares exist compared to how many tradable shares there are, which is this amount. And that's why they owe us a shitload of money. Because this whole block right here is their liabilities. And this little block right here are basically the shares that are available to purchase to close this position. So they got to buy this thing like 50 times over. And that's just not possible. You just can't do it. Even if like the squeeze on Volkswagen was like a float, was like this little pink guy right here. That was about the size of the short interest on Volkswagen that caused it to go to $1,000-something bucks. This is the actual short interest on GameStop and why the price is going to go through the roof when it happens. They just have to be forced to close, and we have to get them to a point where they're forced to close, and that's what we're waiting for. Okay, Space Monkey. Welcome back, Houston. I'm glad your roommates left you something to do after you got better. Now let's talk about two things: Primer the movie, and now my now rising Sears holding. Sell it while I'm ahead, if you want to. I'm holding on to Sears for the long haul to figure out, and this might be years down the road at this point, but they're owed billions of dollars for real estate that they had. And if they get that, that should translate into a cash dividend for any shareholders. And it's estimated that it's worth about $17 per share. So you can sell and get your 2 cents or whatever profit. Good for you. Or you can YOLO like what I'm doing and hoping that this lawsuit works out and they get their $2.5 billion from that real estate company. And then everybody who has shares will get some sweet, sweet cash out of the deal. That's what I'm waiting for. So I YOLO'd, and I'm just going to wait for that $17 per share and go with that. I still haven't seen Primer yet. You guys keep recommending it. Go watch it, and I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I watched Star Trek all week. I didn't watch Primer. Finally caught up with not all the Star Treks, but a lot of the ones that I've missed that have been new because they're on streaming services. Oh, my throat. Okay. That's Game Shop share breakdown pick. Marco Garcia, Houston, have you heard about multiple food supply places getting mysteriously torched? There's an egg farm recently went up in flames that caught my attention. Yeah, I think what it comes to, I've looked into it, what I think it comes down to is someone planted the idea in their heads and now they're looking for any processing plant that has problems. And they go, oh, see, that's this conspiracy. But there's like 440 fires at manufacturing places every single day in America. So it's just the way it is. It's dangerous business, lots of machinery, lots of fuels, lots of particulates. And these places just explode and they catch on fire and they've got, accidents that happen and disease outbreaks and everything else. I don't put much faith into it. The chicken farm was absolutely massive. There's only one building that caught on fire and there's like 30 other buildings. Apparently it was a dude who threw a cigarette in a bunch of hay and that was it. I don't think that there's conspiracy behind it. Gold foil jumpsuit, MMTLP shill. Lots of folks are willfully misinterpreting what Girk is saying and mistaking rationality for bearishness. Ignore the hearsay. Go to the source. Riku. Yeah. I mean, I haven't had a chance to watch Girk's live streams. And there's a lot in there, and he talks for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I'm not awake for most of the trading day because I'm on the West Coast, so I miss a lot of it. But I don't know. I understand the tempering of hope. I get it. I totally get hey, don't get your expectations too high. But from where I sit, what you do is you make multiple plans. You make a plan for if it goes absolutely bonkers and you are set. You make a plan that is for I can at least retire. You make a plan for if the government steps in and does their shenanigans. And as long as you have these different strategies to go forward, you can, you know what to expect. You know what to look for. I think, as long as you get as many shares as you can, you're going to be okay. You're going to sell them for more than you started with, and you'll be all right. Everybody else that thinks oh no, I might as well get out of this thing now. It's not happening. That's exactly what they want you to do. That's the goal. You go, fuck it. I spent too much of my life doing this. I'm out. And then they wander away. Ooh, got now it's Naked HD XYZ. No whores, real cheap F-dates. All right. They love jumping in here. And then we have more cheap sex than Tinder. Oh man, every show you guys find me. Hot boys and girls. Woo. But yeah, I think that it's a combo of people are tired of waiting and active FUD spreading and tempering hopes. It's probably a big combination of those things. But, and I'll be honest, GameStop did not help that issue by not immediately announcing a dividend or a date for the dividend. They need to get that sucker now. If anyone from GameStop is watching, set your dividend date now. Announce it now. Give us something to look forward to, and keep that hope of flying high, because that's what we want. Dino C, when do you think we'll see the effects of the executive order on the stock markets? I don't know how much it's going to affect the stock markets, because I don't know how much assets under management were actually being held in those Chinese companies. I do think that announcing that Evergrande is finally defaulting and not just saying, oh, we're going to do another forbearance and issue another 6 months, acknowledging that you're never going to get money out of these Chinese developers, is a step. And that's going to result in a lot of write-offs probably towards the end of the quarter. You'll see, BlackRock and Royal Bank of Canada, when they do their quarterly reports, will say, oh yeah, well, we lost $40 billion on this Chinese real estate deal. And that will lead to more bear market stuff. Like, oh, well, if the books in these companies are down $300 billion, then perhaps everything else isn't worth as much as we think it is. Okay. LC likes to pee in the shower, everybody. Hey, there you go. Talking about inflation. People buying oil companies. Probably a great time to buy oil companies. They're going to be making so much profit. The price of oil is not so high that it should make the price of gasoline as high as it is. There's just no reason for that. So it's all profit. These guys are going to make so much money. You're going to get such gigantic dividends if you've got oil stocks. You might as well get it while you can, because oil isn't going to be forever. So there you go. Chad Clifford, Houston, your math guy. I've got 528 GME shares. You're set. And after the dividend, if luckily I sell the top 10% of the peak, how many Hot Pockets can I buy to stamp out world hunger? All of them? You can probably buy the entire company that makes Hot Pockets, whoever that is, Nabisco or whoever. Because 528 shares. Okay, let's just do. Go to the calculator. Where are you? Get turn off the Chrome. There's the calculator. Okay. So 528 shares. If it's 7 for 1 split, multiply that sucker by 8, and you'll have 4,224 shares. At $1,000 a share, $4 million. At $10,000 a share, $40 million. At $100,000 a share, $400 million. At $1 million a share, $4 billion. Woo! Okay, so Hot Pockets. How much are Hot Pockets? $5? Let's say you get the $40 million. Oops, one too many. And at $5 a Hot Pocket, you can feed 8 million people Hot Pockets. So you can give 8 million people fiery diarrhea for $40 million. That's not too shabby. I mean, and probably can do a bulk rate even cheaper than that. So let's say you can double it, because you can buy in bulk. You can give 16 million people diarrhea. So there you go. You just make a nonprofit called flameandpoops.org, and you donate all your money to that, and then you buy a whole bunch of people Hot Pockets. They all shit their brains out, and then you get a tax write-off. So sounds like a good plan. So get in there and get it done. Get it done, man. Get it done, Chad. LeBlue Luke, do you think LeBeau Luke, sorry. Do you think that after MOS there will be a ton of prosecutions towards these white collar criminals? I think a lot of hedge fund guys might go down because they lost a lot of rich people money. And we talked about this before. You don't lose rich people money. You can lose poor people money all day long, not face anything. But if you lose rich people their money, they're going to make sure you get charged for it. And that's why Bernie Madoff was the only dude after '08 to go to face any criminal prosecution. Everyone else was fine because they just stole money from poor people. So if you are at a hedge fund and you're losing 50%, a quarter on this right now, and you are naked shorting and you're doing all sorts of things to try to stay alive, and you are possibly involved in racketeering, conspiracy, and collusion amongst your hedge fund peers, you might very likely see some prison time as a result of this because you lost the wrong people money. Now, that might mean that in the future, there could be a poor people hedge fund. Because right now you have to have $1 million minimum to join a hedge fund. And some of these hedge funds even have like arbitrary minimums. So that like Citadel only has 16 clients or something, and they're all billionaires. So maybe there'll be a law made where poor people can invest in a hedge fund at $10 a time or whatever. And they can collect huge amounts of poor people money they can lose like crazy. So that might be the next step. Because we can't afford to make a family fund. So we might as well invest in some hedge fund that's going to lose us all our money, right? They can promise us 50% returns and then make it so that we can't pull our money out, and then they crash the entire economy and they go, oh, sorry. And the government won't care because a whole bunch of poor people lost their money. So, yeah, that's probably what we should look at forming is our own poor people hedge fund to screw everybody over. Chad Clifford, does our math work on Pluto like it does here on Earth? Well, that's one of the fundamental assumptions of physics is that anywhere you look in the universe, the same laws of physics apply. So there's nothing special about our solar system. So yeah, it should work on Pluto. Your calculator should work there just fine. A lot of talking about peeing in pools here. Why didn't you take ivermectin? Jesus. Because ivermectin doesn't work. Enough studies have come out showing that if you take ivermectin and don't take ivermectin, you're going to have the same response to a COVID infection. So I'd rather like keep my stomach lining and take something that works than, a dewormer that will eat away my stomach lining and give me diarrhea. Okay. Gonna scroll ahead a little bit here. Truth Seeker Gensler changed the rules for country club buddies to cover. Houston, can you explain how that affects the run? Actually, it wasn't Gensler that changed the rules. It's the NSCC. The SEC hasn't changed any rules yet. It's the NSCC 2022-003, which is the SFT rule, which allows two things. It allows basically nightly naked shorting to happen, where they can create naked shares if they're in trouble. And it also allows, if they go under, to essentially have their assets seized in a forced loan. Those assets get remediated to whoever the lender is. The lender gives them cash to close positions, and the automatic liquidation by brokers doesn't happen as it should. And that, I think, is to stave off a collapse of the market in general, so that they can slow down the sale of these securities rather than having all these hedge funds get domino affected and they're all selling off and the whole market just collapses, which causes more hedge funds to go under, and it's just this chain reaction. The problem is that there's not enough money in any of those assets to cover their liabilities. So they give their assets over to this bank. The bank gives them a pile of cash. They can close 1/30th of their liabilities, and now the bank has inherited the other 29/30ths of their liabilities, which means the bank's gonna have to sell off those assets to cover another chunk of the liabilities. Plus, the bank's never gonna get paid back for the loan they just made, so they got to write off a loss there. Yeah, it's it's kind of a dumb system. I think it's supposed to kind of delay and cushion the inevitable. But the one thing people pointed out is the fact that they passed that rule means that MOAS is closer, basically. That they're acknowledging, like, hey, it's coming. Which might be why Citibank finally established a default for Evergrande. That they were waiting for that rule to pass before they declared default, so that all these institutions and hedge funds that had those bonds can finally go, all right, we're not getting paid back, and write them off. Okay, Spider, where's Big Dog Monkey Butt? Well, Monkey Butt's on this side of the ottoman, and Big Dog's on this side of the ottoman, and they're just sleeping. All right, Monkey Butt. Can't even get her to open her eyes. They're out. They're out like lights. William Morgan, stocks under $10 or additional 25% margin requirement. Yeah, that's part of that haircut. Is that penny stocks and cheaper stocks, held assets need a lot more oomph for them to count towards margin. DS, what school you teach at? I teach at a couple of schools here in the Seattle area, depending on who hires me. So, a couple of them. Teaches at the Bunny Ranch. I wish. It's a long commute, though. Always on Houston. When will we have flying cars everywhere? I don't know if we'll ever have flying cars everywhere, because it's bad enough in a 2D plane to worry about people smashing into things, let alone a 3D plane that A, has a lot of moving parts, and B, if one of those moving parts fails, it just drops out of the sky and crashes through someone's home. I think flying cars will probably be something that's relegated to rich people who want to buy those toy quadrocopters they can fly around in and get like 20 miles out of them. But I don't see a future of like everyday flying cars for folks. We're just too dumb to handle it. Dog hair floating around the room again on my tongue. Oh, and of course resets again. Quit resetting. Where was I? I was at there. So I am 30 minutes behind. Okay, we're catching up. Chad Clifford, I got my proxy and only got to vote half my shares. See, I think that's what happened to a lot of people. Is that a lot of their brokers were like, well, they only have 4 real shares in their account, therefore we're going to let them vote for 4 shares. And they didn't let them vote for the whole spiel. And I think that's how the brokers are keeping the number of synthetics hidden from the vote. Real Quaid, Unforgiven, it's a good movie. And Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, also a good movie. Best soundtrack ever is The Big Gun Down. Even though I can't understand a word they're saying, it's all Italian. But that soundtrack, was it Enrico Morricone? Is that his name? Fantastic. Best soundtrack ever. Open Range for Kevin Costner is pretty good. All filmed in Alberta. Hey, yo, Narkill. UK testing 4-day work week this week. A lot of people might be moving to that. France essentially moved to a 4-day work week. They moved to a 35-hour work week, like a decade ago? That might be the way we got to do it. I think people are realizing, like, working for the man all the time just sucks. we need more, like, you get 1 day off, and then all of a sudden the next day is like, I got to work tomorrow. And people just don't get quite the rest they should as a human being. Meow Meow, which would yield more money, Moas or Talking Dog? I mean, it would come down to what does the dog say? Is the dog just like ball, tennis ball, ball, tennis ball, tennis ball, ball? Then I don't think it'll be much. If the dog can sit down and have a long conversation with you about everyday life and philosophy, then you might be getting somewhere. So I'm going to go with Moas. There, Meow Meow. Chicken Lover, Houston, have you watched any of Chris Newland's videos? I don't think so. I may have seen it in passing, but no, I don't. It doesn't come to mind. But I don't remember the names of everybody from every video I get sent, though. So, okay. Chris P, the sudden bearish wave of stock personality should be telling. Yeah, and remember, it's cheaper to pay someone off than it is to close these positions. We just ran the numbers earlier in the show. We're talking trillions and trillions of dollars to close this stuff out when the shit hits the fan, right? So if that's the case, then it's way cheaper to pay an article on Motley Fool or Market Watch or whatever, Seeking Alpha, or to pay somebody on one of these shows. I mean, if Citadel wants to, there is a price that it costs to buy my YouTube channel. Everyone has a price. They're welcome to pay it. Just know that if they pay that price, I will take their money, and then I'll go to the SEC and I'll file for whistleblower status, and I'll take their money again. So I'm going to get paid twice, but I'll gladly take it. So Citadel, if you want to buy me off, I'll take it, and I will FUD all day long. But while I do so, I will have whistleblower status, and I'll be doing lots of winks to all my viewers. So, and I will have bought a bunch of GameStop shares with it. So there you go. That's buy me. Do it. I would love to file whistleblower status and get paid twice. Okay. Anthony Wilson, I wonder if we're headed towards a caste system where people that never got COVID are seen as gods. I was hoping I was going to be one of those guys, and this week, oh well, didn't make it. LeBeau Luke, there's a good thread on Superstonk about an ex-client of Citadel, Edward Thorpe, that says the returns were virtually identical to those of the stock market, way less than promoted in mainstream media. Yeah, so somebody had a connection to him, tracked him down, interviewed him, asked him like what it was like to invest with Citadel and why he took his money out, and it's up on Reddit. I made a link to it on my Twitter page as well. Pretty interesting. Yeah, he basically said that if the S&P went up 3%, then they got 3% return. If it went down 2%, then they lost 2%. That was basically it. And that all the stuff in the news about $7 billion in profit, all this stuff was all just hocus pocus. That Citadel is pretty much tied to the S&P 500. Kelly Reed, happy late belated birthday, Houston. Just was wondering, and I got asked this, how does it feel now that everything you thought would happen is actually happening? The crystal ball is still a bit cloudy at times, but, it's still so much dog hair on my leg. A little vindicating. The time scale is a little off as to when things would crash and finally go under, but there's more predictions to come. We still got more things to predict. We don't get them all, but I think my batting average has been pretty high so far. Don't you guys think? I mean, assholes are really predictable, and that's the thing. Is as long as you know how an asshole operates, you can kind of predict what the reactions are going to be and what they're going to do next. You just got to think of like the worst outcome and think that's the choice they're going to make, and that's what the choice they make. So, yeah, assholes are really predictable. Now, is it possible this long, slow sell-off is institutions liquidating to prop up their margins? Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. They are desperately trying to prop up their margins, and yep, you nailed it. I don't want much to elaborate on that, but a lot of them are being forced to sell to raise liquidity. A lot of them are seeing the assets they had are now toxic. They got to get rid of them at a discount, which is dropping the prices even more. And a lot of them are probably being forced to sell stuff to raise cash to cover closed positions. So we're going to see more of it. It's going to happen more and more and more and more. Monkey Butt's blanket looks like Yoda. It does kind of look like Yoda, doesn't it? This is her sheepskin. So it might be like sheep ears popping off of there. It does look like Yoda. Now I'm looking at it. Yeah. I totally see that. Am I not broadcasting HD today? I look very fuzzy on my rebroadcast screen. But I don't know. Technology, man. I start off the show without a microphone, so what else can I manage to screw up? JB, have you seen the ICIJ database of the Paradise, Panama, and Bermuda papers? Yes, I've read through most of them. It's pretty telling. I mean, it definitely is a giant how to hide your money, or mostly hide your money, because unless papers get leaked, you get found out. But you can offshore your cash here and avoid creditors and whatnot. It's a pretty robust system. There's some estimate that $400 trillion have been offshored into these various banks over the years. 400 trillion. Now, you want to talk about there's not enough money to pay for things? That seems like there's enough money to pay for things. That's enough money to pay for all the schools, build all the highways, build all the train systems, give everybody health care, pay our MOAS bills. And that's money that rich people take and they hide in Bermuda, they hide in the British Virgin Islands, they hide in the Caymans, they hide in Singapore, they hide in Ireland. Any net worth you see of somebody, if they are a Bill Gates or a Ken Griffin or Elon Musk or whatever, you have to assume that there is so much more hidden offshore that you'll never know about. That if you see that there's some dude, some banker guy worth $1 billion. Oh, he's worth $1 billion. He's a billionaire club. You see him at WEF or skiing in Aspen or whatever. Know that he probably has $30 to $50 billion in the Caymans. That's invested into a hedge fund like Melvin or whatever, and making money for them as some sort of international investor into these hedge funds. And they've got a lot more money than what is on actual paper on recorded assets, because they got shell companies and upon shell companies upon shell companies upon shell companies, and they're all layered through there. They're all in stocks all over the place. None of it's reported because it's all offshore. They don't pay taxes on any of it. There's a lot more offshore than what people realize. And the minute a lot of folks make cash, if they do it somewhat quietly, they cut a check to a bank in the Caymans or in Belize or Bermuda or Bahamas or wherever, and they start keeping that stuff in a tropical island shell company. And that's how they work, man. Grant Jackson, Walmart has 12 packs of Hot Pockets for $11.98. So now we're down to $1 a Hot Pocket. So you could give 40 million people diarrhea at Walmart for Hot Pockets. So there you go. Done. Thank you, Grant Jackson, letting us know how we can blow out the O-rings of the entire state of California with MOAS money. Seabound 117, GME split is on hold until price is greater than $200, otherwise bad luck. I mean, at 130, the 7-for-1 split puts it just below $20. I think is okay. Still, it's not penny stock territory, so I think they're doing okay. That still makes it worth more than AMC currently is. Not too bad. Steve W., thank you. Thank you for saying thank you. Raider Bow, SEC Rule 3481021, page 4. The earliest a share dividend can come is 10 days advance notice of the record date. June 13th, since the 8K was June 3rd. So they basically have that sucker in their quiver, so they can unload it whenever they want now, whenever's opportune. And I seriously have like so many dog hairs floating around in my mouth, and I hate it. Quit shedding. And I'm wearing the new pants I got that are just magnets. Every time that dog walks past me, I look like Chewbacca on my legs. Okay. KMCC Houston, if you play your video speed at 0.5, it absolutely sounds like you are wasted. Hilarious. What if I start talking even slower for you? I saw some YouTube video that was Christopher Walken at half speed, and it was pretty hilarious. Oh my God. Quit resetting, you silly thing that's constantly resetting the chat here. Where was I? Okay. People talking about Hot Pockets and worms. Excellent. Pat H, if someone gets margin called and the computer buys back. If you have a limit order set above asking price and no one is selling, would the computer buy my order? Just curious. Yes. That's how it works. That's why we keep seeing halts on random days when the market makers, for some reason, lose a connection to the market and they can't flood with naked shares. And all of a sudden we see everything stops and the next order on the bid-ask spread is for like $400,000. That is because someone panics and hits the off button because Citadel or some other market maker hasn't been able to flood the market with shares because, I don't know, maybe the router rebooted or something. Computer glitched. And they pause until those guys can get access to the market again and start flooding with cheap shares. The minute those market makers face consequences for not meeting capital requirements and they lose their market maker status, they can no longer flood the market with these fake shares. That is when those buying computers start buying shares at $400,000 a share. That's when it happens. They will sit there and just gobble up each one of those shares as they come along. So when they say, oh no, the price is going to go for more than $2,000 a share, just look at when trading halts and what the bid-ask spread is. And the bid-ask spread is hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's why they paused it, because they know that those trading computers are going to be forced to buy $400,000, $600,000, $1 million shares. And that is what they've been trying to avoid. So that's another reason why the FUD of, it's never going to go above $2,000. We're just pie in the sky. Because someone is going to sell a share for an absolutely stupid price. Because the trading computers don't care. They've got one job, and that is to close positions. And they'll buy anything and everything that's available at that time. So if only a limit order is available, they'll buy that. If a market order comes through, they'll buy that. They don't care what the price is as long as it's the lowest thing available, and they'll just scoop them up one at a time as they come in. And they're just going to keep doing that until they close. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, big dog, I know. The Spaghetti Westerns all had ridiculous soundtracks. Yes, because they're all Enrico Morricone. Is that his name? Shit. Seriously, listen to the Big Gun Down soundtrack. It'll blow your mind. He also did Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Fistful of Dollars and all those things. Talking dog only interested in Joe Rogan podcast. Dog just sits there and goes, man, that's crazy. That's wild. Hi, big dog. How you doing? Yeah? Oh, pretty good. All right. Okay. And also think about, the other analogy I like to use. There's 21 million Bitcoin out there, right? Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. If you own Bitcoin, you own like a part of the Bitcoin company. You're not going to make dividends. It's not going to increase in value because the company is growing. There's people working hard to do it. It's just ones and zeros in a hard drive somewhere. That can sell for $30,000 to $60,000. So, at the moment, there's 50 million GME. So 2.5 times the amount of Bitcoin that's out there. There are way more investors in GME than there are in Bitcoin. And yet, GME isn't worth $30,000 a share. Why? Because you can create naked GME, but you can't create naked Bitcoin. If the market was limited to just the shares that should be allowed to be traded and no naked shares, you would be looking at instantaneously thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars a share for GME. That's just how it would roll. If you took the billion plus shares out there, multiplied them by the $130 a share they are right now, you'd be looking at a $130 billion market cap. We would be a Fortune 50 company in market cap. But because of the dilution of all these naked shares, the apparent value is much lower. But if you extend the total amount of money spent and held with people that think they have shares versus how many actual shares there are, then you're looking at thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars a share. So there's no reason why Bitcoin can trade for $30,000 a coin and GME can't. None. They both can. And when they do, people will accept it because that's just how it's going to roll. Oh, big dog. Big dog in your leany face. Want to always lean on me. It's really warm in this office right now, and you just want to snuggle, and it's disgusting. Okay. Oh, cheap sex stream recommends. No way. Welcome. How do I tell you to go away? Sorry. Might have to do some... Oh, someone got it. Okay. Dude, big dog. Big dog. Come on. Okay, there it is. Stream recommends I gotta put user in timeout. Bam. Timeout. There they go. Okay. Let's get back up here. Where were we? We were spaghetti westerns at Epic Sound. Dude, your breath is so warm. Why must you lean on me? It is too warm in this room for you to do that. You have too much hair on your entire body. It is going to melt my brain. Okay, come on, get up, 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 get up. I need you to like lean on the dog or something. Go over there. You can lean on that dog. There you go, right there. Yep, nope, just lean over there. Okay, nope, stop trying to come over here. I don't want you leaning on me, you're too warm. You're too warm right now. No, stop it, stop it. Go to the floor. There you go. Yeah, lay down. That's it. Ah, we're free. Yeah, pant away, you big, gross, warm dog. Chris Thompson got 150 GME. I didn't get to vote my vote at all. There's another example. People who can't vote at all because they never got their proxies. That water's done. Okay. Some bacon bits right out of the bag. Unlike whatever happened to Uncle Bruce. Is Uncle Bruce still doing a show? I haven't listened to him in a while. I mean, he's got the opportunity to retire again. So, I mean, if I had made as much money as Uncle Bruce did at the beginning of the meme stock thing, I mean, dude was having 100,000 people on tuning in. I've never had anything close to that. Like what he made in a day probably was enough for me to live off of for a year. It would be crazy. This show would be so unmanageable if 100,000 of you happened to like tune in. I can't even imagine what this would look like. I would have to have like 10,000. Everyone have to be just moderating each other. Just be moderator on moderator war. If that was the case, if there's that many of you in here, I don't know how they would do it. Paratarian, you had comments deleted? I didn't see that, but if it was, I'm sorry. Everyone keeps asking about the dogs. The dogs are here. They're just, see? Monkey butt's back. Right? Where's your happy dog? Yeah, that was not an invitation for you to get up and put your head in my lap again. Oh, you're so warm. So the last 20 minutes of the show is just going to be telling you that this dog is too warm in this room. I want to open the window, but if I open the window, then the traffic noise comes through, and then you bark at everything. So do we cook to death in this room, or do I open the window so the dog barks every 10 seconds whenever a car drives by? Probably should open the window. It is inhumane in here. You guys can see the dog hair off my legs. All right, open you up. Go, 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 go. Wow, instantly does feel better. Okay. All right. Just wait, that dog's going to bark at something, and it's going to be really annoying. William Morgan, market makers can be replaced with a centralized system that route orders straight to the New York Stock Exchange. Yes. And if there are no stocks for sale, then you can't create them out of thin air to sell them. That needs to be a rule. I keep trying to do one that doesn't have any water in it. Naked shorting has to end. It has to. They have to stop naked shorting, and they have to make it criminally prosecutable if you naked short. Just like counterfeiting US dollars. There's no reason why I can't print dollars and sell them, and I can't sell fake housing deeds, or I can't sell knockoff Gucci's, and I can't sell anything else that's counterfeit, but I can sell counterfeit stock. Like, if I can spend my money printing fake stock, why would I bother spending my money printing fake dollars? And I can print it for years before the SEC or anyone does anything about it. So I can, for years, have the scam going, take all that cash, throw it offshore, and then boom, done. All right? I've now moved to Barbados. And I am now a citizen of Barbados. Screw you, Merca. Yeah, so they've got the ultimate scam, and there's nothing anyone else can do about it. And William Morgan also says, Japan bond sale cancellations mount as Hokkaido puts off deal. Well, Japan got some inflation. Too bad MMT copter just died. What? I don't know what that means. But I think governments and everyone's going to have a hard time selling bonds right now. That's going to be a big issue. Seabound 117, without naked shares, wouldn't companies like BlackRock just own everything and no one else could participate? Well, yeah. But without people able to buy shares, the assets under management aren't worth anything because no one could buy it. You can't sell it to anybody because no one else has any money. And that's we probably need to start focusing on then creating authorized share amounts that are appropriate to the population of people who can invest. I mean, there's billions of Apple shares, right? And there's billions of Google shares, but there's only a few million of some of these smaller cap companies. And maybe if they weren't naked shorted so much, that those companies could feel comfortable generating more shares for sale and raising more money to advance their corporations. But because they're so naked shorted, if they issue more shares, they get stuck into that debt spiral that these hedge funds put them in. So I think that the entire market, fundamentals market, will change big time if we get rid of naked shorting. And big groups like BlackRock and Vanguard, yeah, they'll buy up a ton, but guess what? That would allow a company like GameStop to, hey, we're going to issue another 100 million shares at market cost. And they could sell 100 million more shares in the market. Because BlackRock's going to buy them up, right? So they may as well make more money off of it. Or they might give a retail trader the opportunity to actually go in and purchase some of this stuff. And that's one way they can increase the float. Like, had GameStop issued 1 billion shares, like all the synthetics that are out there right now, had they issued 1 billion shares at $130 a share and raised $130 billion, they would be the talk of the town. Everyone out there would be like, oh my God, GameStop's got so much money. They are going to kick Amazon's butt. They're going to own the entire world. They got $130 billion in cash on hand. Instead, someone else issued a bunch of fake shares and made $130 billion off of it. So, who should get the $130 billion? Should it be the company who actually exists, or it should be the guy that makes the fake one? That money's there regardless right now. So why should the hedge fund be allowed to take that money and not GameStop? GameStop should be able to sue them. Should be able to say, hey, Citadel, you made fake shares of my company. I did not authorize you to make fake shares of my company. You took money from me. You took billions of dollars from me. Give me my money back. And this is essentially what the Sears lawsuit's about, is that there was a deal that apparently was a one-sided deal that Sears did not agree to, that Sears was going to give $2.5 billion in real estate to this other company in exchange for $40 million. And so the company just took their real estate and sold it and made a bunch of money off of it. And Sears is like, what the fuck? No. You give me $2.5 billion because you stole $2.5 billion of my property. I think shorted companies should sue market makers for the cash made off of selling their stock that doesn't exist. That's what I think. And why not? No, don't put your head on me. It's still too warm in here. It's cooler, but still too warm. Down, down. Big dog. Hey, down. Down. Or just pant and stare at me. Oh yeah, and the SEC is talking about changing the plumbing of the market, essentially removing the dark pool tools used for payment for order flow. That's what it sounds like, is that they want to slow the market down and not front load these retail trades through groups like Citadel, and that allow more options for people to get their trades done. And it'll slow down the trades, and it will, I think, make that high frequency trading slow down as well. Another rule I'd like to see is an elimination of high frequency trading. Put some sort of automatic slowdown on it, like if you buy a stock, there's a 10-minute circuit breaker on it that you aren't allowed to sell it for 10 minutes. So you can't just like flip stocks, flip, because you and I don't have that ability. I don't have a big giant computer doing high frequency trading. I don't have the technology or the skill to do that. And they should just remove high frequency trading in general out of the market. Just take it out of the market. No one can high frequency trade. You can't bounce shares back and forth between two hedge funds 1 million times in a day. So once a share is traded, it has to stay in that account for 10 minutes before anything can happen to it again. It's like a little timer, like playing chess or whatever. And you can't play the arbitrage game either. Where we got 9 minutes left here, folks. I'm almost caught up to the end, so that's good. Getting in there. Okay. Patrick S. I'm worried if they keep suppressing the American people will push back. That story doesn't end well. It's true. Revolutions happen. I was in Tunisia in the fall of 2010. And my friend and I went all over Tunis and Carthage and like Sidi Bou Said and places around there. And I went through the market where the Arab Spring started a few weeks before. And it was a police state. There were cops everywhere with their big guns, and they were these little guard booths, and they checked papers, and they kept the clamp down. I did not see it coming. Everyone I met seemed really happy and gregarious, and yes, there was huge unemployment. There's a big problem in the country, and that was really educated. It's like 60% of the population has a college degree. There's engineers and scientists, but they have no jobs. And because there's no manufacturing and no big industry for them to work at. So they're incredibly educated without the ability to use their education. And a lot of them were forced to survive however they could. And you'd see people, like they'd set up a little card table, they'd be selling loose cigarettes or oranges or whatever. And the cops, if they came along and you didn't have a permit for that table, they would trash the thing, throw everything in the garbage, and then whatever little bit of cash you had would get taken from you. Or if you put the only $10 you had into buying this bag of oranges to sell, and they took that from you, then you had nothing. And they did that to a man at this market in Sidi Bou Said, and he went to the police station, doused himself on gasoline, and lit himself on fire because he had nothing left. And his self-immolation started the Arab Spring, which exploded across a dozen countries, and all these people who were fed up with underemployment, the police states and the authoritarian governments that were there. And the sad thing is that the only real change that happened was in Tunisia. The rest of these countries didn't really get any effective change, and some of those countries got a lot worse in civil wars and stuff. But, the youth unemployment rates in America right now are pretty similar to what they were like in Tunisia 10 years ago, 12 years ago. We've got a really educated population that's kind of sick of the man. We have a very powerful, rich billionaire class who, are now supporting other billionaires, right? We've got Caruso in L.A. running for mayor, big billionaire real estate developer, and he's got all his rich buddies like, hey, vote for Caruso. I'm a rich white person. Oh. And Elon Musk's like, yeah, vote for Caruso. With all these billionaires, they're like patting their billionaire buddies in the back to continue to consolidate power. And if at some point that goes wrong, if the middle class keeps shrinking and keeps getting the shit on the stick, they're gonna freak the hell out one of these days. You know, they're gonna run out of shows to watch on Netflix because Netflix is going bankrupt, and they're just gonna raise hell. And yeah, just wait for that moment. There's gonna be something that triggers everybody, and we're getting close. Those cops in Uvalde, I think, were a big catalyst. Those cops in Uvalde have done more marketing for defund the police than any activist has ever done. They've shown how useless and incompetent cops can be with the amount of money that they get and the amount of tax dollars they receive. The city of Seattle, they did not defund their police. The police have had increased funding year over year, and the cops are still whining, complaining, and so basically arrests aren't happening. The cops are doing the blue flu, and they're like, yeah, well, people treat us so badly that we just aren't going to do our job at all. So we're just going to let everyone get raped and robbed and murdered. And oh well, you just got to give us more pat in the back. That type of stuff does not last. I mean, the city of Seattle will be fully within its right to just fire every police officer in Seattle and start all over again. Start from scratch. Be like, if you're a Seattle cop, you can never work here again. Get the fuck out of here. We're going to start over and hire our entire new force. And it will probably do better than what we have right now. Yeah, we're on that step there, Patrick S. We're getting close, very close. Okay. Paratarian, 50%. DRS has gobbled up almost 50% of the free float. Popcorn should probably take note and do the same. Not financial advice, not financial advisor. Where are they at? They're like 13 million or something. Free float's what, like 25, 26 million? So, sorry, my throat, right there at the end here, my throat is just trying to give out on me. Yeah, the interactive brokers said that they cannot lend shares anymore. The price, interest rates on cost to borrow is just going through the roof. And that's another thing, is that when you see cost to borrow up 100%, then, that means these guys are effectively shorting at $260 a share. And that's not good. If you got to pay $130 premium to sell a stock at $130, you're at $260 for what? Nothing. Because you're just trying to keep the price below $350. That doesn't seem like a very good bet at all. Dave Wan, my favorite walk-in line. You're talking to my guy all wrong. It's the wrong tone. Do it again and I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron. Luigi Salazar, Houston, when you're talking about GME's naked shorting, are you also referring to other shorted stocks? Yeah. I mean, all these stocks are shorted. And they do the same thing. What they did to GME, they're doing to everybody else. It's just that GME's got a much larger retail holding than a lot of the other companies that have been shorted that same way. Paratarian cost to borrow on Fidelity now up to 33%. Jesus, it was like 8% a week ago. It was an exponential rise in this cost to borrow. That's crazy. Crazy. Zangari RC, a UBI is the only humane solution, must become a prerequisite of capitalism. We might be on our way to a UBI. That seems pretty well for it. I mean, last year we did the child tax credit, which basically pulled every child in America out of poverty. And then in January they canceled it, and all those kids went back into poverty again. So we've got the data; it works. The unemployment numbers early on in the pandemic was all mitigated by the 600-week unemployment they received. And for some people, it resulted in them earning more money than they ever had in their entire life because they were a minimum wage before. So, yeah. GR Galicia, Houston, do you favor lending your shares and earn money? No. Because that just kicks the can down the road even further. No. I mean, if there's a way I could lend and recall and lend and recall and lend and recall, I would gladly do it, especially at 100% cost to borrow or something like that. But the lending and the recalling is done by your broker and not you. So if you don't have that power, meh. Sad Boy Incorporated, how do I make money lending shares of GME? How many would I need to own at minimum? You say Interactive Brokers is 100%. Who gets paid to lend those shares? I don't know how much you specifically get, or if that's just how much that the brokerage is charging for it. I have no interest in lending, so I haven't really explored that on my end as to exactly what you can do. But they opened it up on a couple weeks ago on Robinhood. They sent out this thing, hey, you can now lend your shares out. Ooh, but I mean, if they let you set your own terms, that'd be one thing. But you're doing the terms according to whatever the broker says, and the broker's going to get most of the money out of it, and you're not. But if they had some sort of table that said, yeah, I'll lend you my shares at a 300% cost to borrow and a 50% yearly interest fee, let's see if they do it. Why not? And I could recall any time. Yeah, I would do that to fuck with them all day long. But I don't have the power. The broker has the power, and I'm just not going to do that. Okay. All right. My voice is done. I got to take a breather. So thank you guys. I'm glad I'm back. Hopefully I'll be a little stronger on Wednesday when I see you. And my voice will last a little longer. But until then, I bid you adieu. Thank you so much for coming. Love seeing all of you here. From the big dog, medium-sized dog, and myself, I'm going to give you one of these, and I'm out.